What was something someone did that instantly killed all attraction you had to them? Crushed bags of chips at the store. Had been seeing each other for a few months. Were going to make dinner at my place that night. Went to the grocery store to pick up a few things and he randomly starts grabbing bags of chips from the bottom and crushing them. Tells me him and his kids do this every time they go grocery shopping. WTF. Super rude to a waitress. I have no time for people who can't respect service industry folks. I've only worked 2 days as work staff, cause of COVID, and I've gained forever respect for waiters and waitresses just from how almost everyone treated me. Talked shitty about their children. I'm not a kid person, but hearing a dad say his kid sucked really made me disinterested quick. And I had been very interested. Drove away the FCK too fast with me in the passenger seat begging him to slow down. For real thought I was about to die. I had a girl almost kill me by passing a transport truck on a curve. When we barely escaped death, her first response was I've done worse. I literally was like I might have to get out of this car and not drive anymore because I might die. Later on the drive she almost drove into the back of a truck. It was straight up out of a movie with the tires screeching and just stopping right before hitting it. After that the third person in the vehicle said I should drive and she said okay and I was like thanks Christ. The drive was from Prince George to Vancouver. Told me verbatim our genetics are optimal for mating. Double quote. Did you tell them that most genetic screenings test for histories of mental illness and currently the evidence was not in their favor? The only way that sentence wouldn't be creepy is if you were two geneticists who were planning on procreating. They were on their phone the entire time I was at dinner with them. Obviously I wasn't worth the attention. Snapped me out of it quickly thankfully. Actually threw a plastic chair at someone. When I was a teacher, I had a guy say, I think you're a teacher because you don't think you can do anything else. Not only insulting and disrespectful to me, but to all teachers who give so much of themselves to their students. I told him as much and he said I was being too sensitive. I was on a Tinder date. And it was my first date with someone the same race as me. So I was happy to have shared experiences and some interesting conversation. Until she went on an hour-long rant about how we need to get rid of all white people. Recently had an experience with a woman being racist. She all but laughed at me for having slept with a black woman. She brought up and asked me about. One of many red flags I didn't take seriously enough. We stopped speaking less than 2 weeks later. He told me he got fired from his job for reasons that were 100% his fault. Then bragged about leaving fake bad reviews on the company's website. He was also 3 years older than me. I just saw this as really immature, petty and lame. Stopped talking to him after that. Chewing with their mouth open. When I was stuck in cubicle hell, I had 2 co-workers nearby who loved eating bags of potato chips with their mouth open. When he said that I didn't know what I was talking about. When I said that autism spectrum disorder, ASD, is genetic, not a result of vaccines. And that the study that supposedly proved that it was caused by the MMR vaccine had been redacted from the medical journal it was originally published in. Keep in mind, as someone with an Asperger's syndrome diagnosis, I have a high-functioning form of ASD. I had all of my vaccines on time, including the MMR vaccine, and wasn't diagnosed with Asperger's until I was 9. His only evidence that ASD is caused by vaccines is the study that was redacted, and the fact that scientists haven't been able to pinpoint which genes are affected in people on the spectrum versus people who aren't on the spectrum. On our second date he made a joke about me giving him a BL job by the dumpsters at the restaurant we were eating at. Hanging out with a bunch of friends one night and she's been weirdly all over me, drunk. She's being really touchy and looks up at me and says how tall are you? To which I replied that I'm 5'7" and she recoils and goes oh. Guy's 6 feet and under. Our friends I rolled my eyes and walked away. She's 4'11". Some of the funniest people are women who discriminate others based on height, but hate being discriminated against based on weight. To be clear, Your Honor, I'm against both. Told me she'd had her rifles confiscated by the police because she had threatened her last boyfriend with them via text. I mean, I give her points for honesty. But I stopped sticking my DCK in that crazy. Wore a mesh mask at a place where masks were mandatory. I don't like masks either, but either suck it up or don't go places where they're required. We talked some politics. He said, Trump loves America and pussy. So how could I not love him too? Attraction gone. Lol. This very handsome guy I worked with had slept with someone else we worked with. She wasn't well liked. So I guess he didn't want people to know about it. But she told everyone and showed me texts between them. So I knew she was telling the truth. So he would talk shit about her constantly. He would say some truly awful things about her and it turned me off of him so bad that I just tried to avoid him. If you're gonna sleep with someone you work with, you should be on the same page as far as telling other people. And if you don't make that clear with the other person, don't try to cover your ass by being a disgusting jerk. Dated this chick for half a second where all she did was talk about herself or steer a conversation towards talking about herself. It got old by the time we were done with appetizers. Went into the work fridge. Shook up a random soda can and laughed uncontrollably for a few seconds and said whoops. Smoking. An inability to acknowledge verified facts from evidence. And X200B. Justified animosity or belligerence towards service workers, or people in general. And X200B. Woke to the point of stupid self-righteousness. We're all human. One of my ex-boyfriends yelled at the waitress because she brought out our food and his entree was touching the side dish on his plate. I was already thinking about ending things. But that accelerated our breakup and I dumped him that same night. In my early 20s. Dated a girl for a couple of months. One day we were walking around a mall and I mentioned there was something I liked. A little while later she presented me with a present. It was a silver bracelet, the item I was admiring. Asked her when she bought it and she replied I didn't. I stole it. I looked at her and asked for real. She said yep. I told her to take it back and that I didn't want to see her anymore. Too bad. She was a cute girl. I had a sort of similar experience. I accidentally walked out of a store with a small item in my hand. I think I was holding another bag or leftovers from our meal and just didn't realize I had been holding onto it when I walked out. When I realized I told her I needed to go run it back and she told me to just keep it and who cares. She probably just wanted to get home quicker so she could get stoned. Would drift while I was in the car because he knew it scared me. He also made me feel like a complete idiot all the time. Different guy. Laughed when I told him how I had been stalked in middle school. Instant nope from me. He, somewhat unsurprisingly, proceeded to stalk me. Close bracket. Guy number 3. I heard and saw the way he talked or treated his mom. If he can't show the woman who birthed him basic respect, I doubted he would have much for me down the road. I could keep going, but I think that's enough for now. Told me to get my toes fixed. 2 toes on each foot are half webbed. I like them and think they make me look cool and different without being weird or gross. I was gonna give the guy a BJ after we went swimming, but sitting by the pool and hearing his opinion of my toes absolutely killed anything I felt. I just told him to leave and that was the end of it. I'm just curious. At what point in the night do you make that BJ decision? I could flatter myself and pretend like I've talked some girls into, but it seems like you girls know way in advance exactly what you are willing to do. You probably decided the date before a whole week ago. When he tried and you denied him and he didn't act like a lil BTCH and throw a fit. So next time, you're like, this BJ is about to happen. As long as he doesn't talk shitty about my feet. I was at the gym with my gym crush. And I'm not skinny or overweight. I'm a little thick. Anyways, he mentions that I should move my arm a certain way and tells me to start work my hands by my love handles. Again. Thick, and this bastard proceeds to grab my sides and giggle them while he laughs. I was embarrassed. Because WTF. and grabbed my shitty and left. No longer my crush. They asked me to take credit for a car accident they caused. I was sitting in the back seat with another friend of mine, and she turned around to talk to the friend. While putting her foot on the gas, she rear-ended the car in front of her. I was the only other person in the car with a license and she panicked. She asked me to quickly get in the driver's seat so the woman whose car got hit would think I hit her. I didn't hate her for it or anything, but something like that really kills feelings. I actually had an abusive ex that forced me to do this. I was sleeping in the passenger seat and woke up a split second before the accident, and he forced himself under me and made me switch to the driver's seat. It was pretty shitty and put a point on my license and made my car insurance $150 more per month for the next 3 years. Kept saying how she hated racism and racists. Stick with me on this one. And then casually dropped the N-word with me over the phone. She's white. She said she uses the N-word all the time with her white friends. She didn't see a problem with it because it's not said with malice. It's just a word. Why can't I say it? And she doesn't say it around black people. Attraction gone. Any respect I had for her gone. And any part of me that wanted to remain friends was gone too. Straight trash. I come from a farming family. A welder I was dating told me farming isn't real work. He wanted to get married. His bad. He was cute though. Looked like a young Elliot Stabler from Law and Order SVU. When they would sing every song that popped into their head. The only issue was they mixed up didn't know their lyrics and or they couldn't sing. I'm not a music nut or addict by any means. But somebody constantly screwing up lyrics or singing badly is worse than a skipping CD. Two immediately come to mind. First was a guy I dated who was great until I heard him make jokes about disabled people and also say the N-word. He is very white. Second was a girl who told me that she and her friends go to restaurants and stores and try to be as loud, annoying, rude, and disruptive as they can until they get kicked out. They apparently literally go to the mall and try to get kicked out of as many stores as possible. I don't have time for people who needlessly bother and disrespect workers like that. Met a guy online. Nice. But essentially just a chew toy and I was very upfront about not wanting anything serious. Fooled around a bit and planned to do a hangout night about a week later. The next date it became very clear that he had apparently fallen for me and he actually started talking future stuff. Yikes. Told him it was getting late and I was ready for bed. Hint hint. And I headed to the door to send him on his way as we were at my place. I turn around and he's got his shirt off and is climbing into my bed. I asked him what he was doing and he goes, "We're going to bed." No dude. I'm going to bed. You're leaving. I had to point out that at no point did I ask him to spend the night and that this was date 2. He tried to talk me into a sleepover and after the third hard no he finally left. I did not see him again though for a month. I got several messages that we were meant to settle down and start a family together and what a great dad he's going to be. Pass. He wanted to take me out to his favorite Japanese place for a hibachi dinner as our first date. We both decided to order a sushi roll with our dinner. So the bill comes and I see him flag the waiter and talk for a minute. The waiter takes the bill and he looks over and says, "You're paying for your sushi." I got a separate bill for a $8 tuna roll. We were supposedly close friends at the time. But he didn't hesitate to call me a fucking idiot or a moron during petty arguments where I disagreed with his POV. I'm ashamed at how long it took me to finally cut him out of my life. But the attraction definitely ended the day he called me names. His actions showed a complete lack of respect towards me as a person. He never had and never will have the right to make me feel worthless. Nobody does. A bunch of us were in a car and he was driving. The GPS had him driving the perimeter of a parking lot. We were all like, "Dude, it's a U-turn. Just do a U-turn." But he insisted on following the GPS exactly even though we could all plainly see that he didn't need to. It really killed my lady boner. One night I was out with a couple girlfriends at a pool bar and these Boston firemen came in. Panties dropped all around. A couple of them challenged me and my friend. So we got to talking, flirting. Long story short, I went home with one of them. He was dreamy. Guys. While we were making out on his couch, I felt something hard poking into my back. I paused, reached between the two cushions, and pulled out a MAGA hat. I called an Uber immediately. I wish this story were fake. A guy I knew. He was autistic and would tell other autistic people, I am more functional than you, to their faces. He didn't see how insulting that was. He would also fail to fulfill promises and jabber about politics so f***ing loudly with one of his friends. I had to walk a block ahead of him to get away from the noise during group excursions. Even then, it didn't dawn on him that he was annoying me. He had zero ability to put 2 and 2 together.